if you ask me about the top 10 least favorite words in the English dictionary, chances you'll find that one word that is going to be on my top of my list is going to be the word censor. I really hate this word. It's mostly because if you know me, I have some certain disdain onto these kind of stuff because, how can I say it, mostly these kind of things basically ruin the artistic integrity and vision of an artist, because it's always people, you know, overprotecting a general audience that even they don't deserve, well, I wouldn't say deserve, but they don't need to be protected. It cuts out a lot of the artistic integrity of a lot of artists. It's basically lots of big reasons why I despise censorship, as well as the people involved into it. No matter how many times you tell me that the reasons why and why do you need them and all these things, I still despise that word and everything involved into it. And from what you can tell from what I'm saying, I went to see this latest horror film called Censor. And honestly, I know that this movie came out a few weeks ago, but this is a movie that it didn't came out for in the mainstream movie theaters. This one exclusively, at least in my area, came out in the IFC Center, which is this art house movie theater in New York. And this one I had to take quite a trip to get there. So but I wasn't exactly knowledgeable about the existence of the movie until I began to have these articles and YouTube. They began to show me, hey, there's this movie called Censor, and everybody was kind of like talking about it, and I was like, you know what? So I saw the trailer, and I was like, it's a movie that probably is gonna mock you know, the censorships and everything. Still, I was a little bit curious until I finally decided to go there. And before I talk to you about the movie, I think that I have to give you a little bit of a treat for you to enjoy this. So let's make a little bit intermission by saying that after I seen the movie, I went to see the new Harry Potter New York shop. I was really curious to go there, even though they have a little bit of some restrictions to get inside. You need to go to the store, then make your reservation with a QR code, wait an hour, and go there. And honestly, it was a sweet place. Because I did enjoy the movies as well as the book, and I think and before I talk to you about the Censor, I think I'm gonna give you a treat of showing you some of the stuff that I bought, at least here on camera. So first of all, I got myself some chocolate frogs. And I actually bought 2 of them. Even it cost $12, and I know, and I taste some of these when I went in Universal Studios. I really like the chocolate, but one of the big things is that apart from the chocolate frog, this one also comes out with an holographic card. So I'm gonna try. I do have some of them. I got another one unopened, but this one I do want to share you at least one on screen and to see what the card is. So let's see. And it's a big frog, just in case. Worth technically $12 because this is a giant bar of chocolate, as you can see. And the card is, I got that. Oh, I don't think I got this one. I got Helga Hufflepuff. I'm gonna eat that chocolate frog later. It's really delicious. I also got myself the. I also took have a treat of some butter beer. As you can see, I got the cup here. It was delicious. It tastes like butterscotch, or like some people actually kind of describe it as tasting like a liquid version of vanilla cake. So also, and speaking of butterbeer, I also bought at least 2 bottles of butterbeer, and I think I can open it right here. It's a little bit wet. Yes, it's a little bit wet because I hear the foam. I'm just making a Daniel kind of like a Daniel try in order for you to see. I'm gonna put something here that in order you to like go. Sorry, Spencer. Here it is. It's bubbly. Oh my god. For some reason I'm beginning to have flashback of the BFG movie, the animated one, you know, with the whisk poppers. Considering that both Harry Potter and the BFG are British products. So let's taste it again. Yep, it tastes like butterscotch. It's delicious. It's kind of like a flavor that makes you wonder how they do it. It's vanilla butterscotch. Oh. A little bit stroke. I'm getting allergic to that. Just a little bit here. Oh, and I also bought a new friend. That sounds weird. Here's my new friend. I love dragons. I really like the design of this dragon. I think it's the Hungarian horntail or the Norwegian, whatever it was. Still, I'm a fan of dragons, so yeah. So now we got a new pal for Spencer. I think I'm gonna put it here. You know what? It looks cool on my printer, I'll say. So basically, this is my little share with you from my experience today into New York. Well, after I watched the movie, so. But well, consider this a little bit of a bonus from me watching the Censor movie. I'm not doing this for promotion or anything. I just wanted to share some experience. But anyway, back to the movie Censor. I already told you that I'm not exactly very fond of the word of the people, but I'll say this, that just like I had fun on the Harry Potter store, the movie Censor, I also had fun, and boy, that is really good. For a movie that has one of my most hated words in the dictionary, I love this film. I just came out loving this film. It's simple yet complex. It's in a way disturbing and when you think about the whole how it was executed. It has great elements if you technically love movies and you kind of dig into the elements that this movie has. Most notably, this is kind of like a love letter to the video nasty. So the way this is how in Britain they call those exploitation movies. For those who doesn't know, video nasties or technically they exploitation movies, in which are technically movies either from a big budget company or independent, in which it mostly showcases a lot of a lot of violence, a lot of sex, in a very hardcore way. And technically these movies are very, well, in a way, very risky or sensitive to be shown to the general audience, to the point that they have to be distributed either from a third party or pirated or underground. There was a moment in which these kind of movies they became kind of like a focal point for a lot of controversy. And this movie Censor do that, which I'll get into much details when it comes by, but right now I'll tell you that if you love these psychological horror movies and you want to see at least something kind of that it might give you a good time, I highly recommend you Censor. It's really, really good. And with that, it's time for me to talk about the movie. Okay, now I go with a little bit of a synopsis of the story of the movie named Censor. So it takes place in the 1980s, early 1980s or so. The movie is about this woman named Enid. She works as a censor in kind of like in this movie film industry, in which she goes there, she watches the movie, she reviews them, tells the her other colleagues, saying that, okay, you gotta cut this, this because it's so hardcore. She can't basically kind of have this really professional way to approach it. And she's dedicated to it to the point that I was like, God. For some reason, I kind of hate this kind of person, mostly because it's one of those people who would say, okay, cut this, cut that, and everything. Well, I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, the thing, we censor this woman from the Censors named Enid, and then she's very professional in her job until one day, she reviews a movie that apparently feels she feels that there's something familiar in the events of the movie with something that happened to her past, and she basically begins to feel that the movie somehow is connected to the disappearance of her sister, who disappeared years ago. And her parents basically they just wanted to accept and move on, saying that, well, your sister disappeared and nothing can be done. It's been years now. We have to say that she's dead. But her character Enid cannot accept that, and then she sees this movie. She decides to use the to look a little bit further into the production of this movie in order to find clues in which she might feel that probably the movie is too personal for her, and basically the movie turns into this character study, this character story, in which it makes you question which is reality, which is fiction. And I've seen other movies that also goes like that. The ones that come into my head are kind of like Radiodrome. I've seen other more that are kind of like Radiodrome, but at the point I can't recall things like that. And I've seen this, of course, in many ways. In which movies we see the perspective of the character who is technically kind of like twisted or something like that. And this one does. I will say that this one does it really well. It's pretty basic if you've seen kind of like a lot of those movies. I keep saying this now that I think about it. But anyway. It becomes kind of like interesting. You see them, how she works. She's discussing with the other people, saying that, okay, this is too violent. We can't we can we can show it. Although of course there's kind of like an argument, with this big board of directors or the censors, saying that okay, well, we should talk that, and boy, that it makes me think that probably the censors are worse in today than in the 80s, but still that's not saying much. Although apart from her lifestyle and her investigation about the disappearance of her sister, other elements also are in the movie. For example, she and another guy are also in hot water because some guy who kills off someone and is nicknamed the amnesiac killer. Apparently, people begins to point fingers at her because apparently this killer committed a murder based on because he just saw a movie about someone eating the face of another one. And of course, then the public goes, it's your fault for allowing movies to show up like that. And in my head, it's like, how is their fault? It's not their fault that some idiot took the movie too seriously. But anyway, this is kind of like some element to bring out some pressure into the movie. It's a little bit kind of exaggerated, even to the point that even she beginning to have threatening calls of the public saying that you should be ashamed of yourself. And I was like, again, how is their fault? But you know what? It was the 80s. It was if people doesn't know, is that the 80s was a kind of like a big moment when exploitation films, or in the case of how they call it, the video nasties, they were generally being very big, and it was during that time in which people became a little bit too paranoid, thinking that just because you watch a very bloody film, that means that they're involved with the devil, or it means you're satanic, or that you're gonna become a murderer just because you feel you have this influence. Although it's been disproven that it's not exactly all the cases. It depends on many factors. But considering that it's kind of like the 80s, you understand that. Right now, but if you want me to say what I think about the video nasties, well, I did saw some of them. And honestly, depending on the movie, I can watch it. Some that I kind of regret watching. Well, not exactly regret, but it's one of those that I just watch it once and I don't want to watch it again. I think that probably one of the strongest one I did watch is Cannibal Holocaust, which, for its defense, is technically it's a good exploitation movie, but it's one of those movies that is a one and that's it, because there's a lot of animal cruelty, and the violence is pretty much so much. Let's say that it's disturbing. It is still considered one of the most disturbing movies there is. Actually, I think now that I think about it, maybe this is the reason why the video nasties were generally ostracized, because you gotta give them credit that the way it depicted a lot of the violent scenes are too realistic for people's comfort. I mean, look again with Cannibal Holocaust. The violence was and the execution was so believable that even the director had to go to court and prove that he didn't really kill off the actors. But basically, this is some of the elements that I have to tell you about the in order to give you a background about the movie Censor. One thing that I like about the movie is that our main character, she kind of have like a borderline between unlikable or likable. I mean, at first instance, I despise the character mostly out of bias because, well, she's a censor and you know my stance. But whatever as the movie goes on and on, you technically, I wouldn't say sympathize with her, but kind of pity her until she does things that are kind of like really crazy, and you were like, am I supposed to be rooting this character? Well, not exactly, because some of the stuff that she does are increasingly batshit crazy. But at the same time, you kind of understand that this is a character who basically she kind of have like this keen eye and some kind of professional fixation to the video nasties. Although she doesn't exactly show off as being kind of overly obsessed with it until later in the movie, and honestly, I don't know if people had this sensation of deja vu sometime when you watch a movie or something like that, and you might saying that, haven't I seen that before? Although of course that this movie kind of pushes a little bit too much with that character, so it becomes kind of like an interesting study of how this character kind of get this preconception and how far this character will go into it. And of course that we have other characters. To go a little bit briefly, we got her parents who are basically decided to move on with the disappearance of the sister, and she's like, woman, let it go. But basically they're worried about her insistence of saying that she's still alive, or I think there's something that might prove that we can still find her, that she's not dead or something like that. You see our main character's co-workers who they all kind of like have this opinions. Although there is one character that technically ruined something about the movie, I'm not gonna get into that. We also have kind of like the producer of that movie, in which right now I'll say that it's a movie that is named Don't Go in the Church. The producer technically kind of takes an interest on the main character, saying that she looks pretty good for the role for his next movie. Well, let's say that this producer is a little bit creepy. That I will leave it at that, I'll say. Now, this is technically all I have to say about the character without spoiling too much. What else there is? The techniques of the movie is, I'll say, amazing, because despite that not much happens, spontaneously, you get really hooked on into the movie. You hook on the character, you see this goal, and of course there are moments that it feels kind of like this tension building of this character, how she sees the world and how she basically is. How can I say it? She feels paranoid at the world surrounding. She feels like she wants to see kind of like a clue. She's technically in this, kind of like in this dark world, and honestly, it feels unsettling. Especially in the scenes in which she has to walk on a subway. Funny enough, because like I told you, I had to go to New York. I went to the subways, and you know the sensation when you go at night on the subways is all with graffiti, dirty, and you might find like these kind of nasty people. That kind of sensation, and as well that there are some moments that it really imitates a little bit of Videodrome. What else there is? There are some effects that kind of showcase the character. Although most of the best effects and what the movie was actually trying to do, it mostly comes out at the during the climax of the film, which I'm not gonna dare to talk about it, at least yet, because I do want to talk about that ending, but I want to tell you when the time comes, not right now. I'm just gonna tell. At least I'm gonna tell you kind of like the basics that I really love the cinematography. I love some of the effects that they do. I love some of the characters. And by the way, yes, there is blood and gore, both in the movie and even on movies inside the movie. Even some of them are kind of like real. Some of them are kind of like real, I'll say. Real video nasty, just in case. Not real killings. Oh my god, that will be awful. Although some of them I never seen, but there was. But I will tell you that there is a moment in which of course, our main character gets this movie, which is supposed to be banned. She's making an investigation of the production of that movie in order to find clues of her missing sister. Her missing sister, I mean. And and sometimes it makes you want to watch that movie. I really want to watch the movie that she was watching. I don't know if that is a real movie or not, so confirm me if it is. I think it was. But basically the movie has this guy who really looks like Keanu Reeves for some reason. and Keanu Reeves with a beard, let's say. And she's with this woman, she's kind of like doing some demonic cult things. Man, sometimes I want to watch this horror, this exploitative and video nasty horror films, because honestly, when you think about it, sometimes even even if these movies are basically targeting for some shock value or something like that, you kind of get interested saying, oh my god, how they make that? Sometimes they really manage to scare you even more than the mainstream horror movies. But by the way, yes, there are moments that I do draw the line. Mainly, just like Cannibal Holocaust, I draw the line in animal cruelty. Oh, and speaking of which, yeah, despite that I really say that, why do you have to cut that and everything during the reviewing scenes? There is a scene in which they're reviewing a cartoon of a cartoon cat almost getting taunted by mice that are kind of like torturing him in a chopping block. And this is kind of like the only instance in which I actually agree with the censor saying that, oh, come on, that's mean. Alright, let me talk a little bit about the theme of the movie, because from what I did tell you and how the movie is portrayed, mostly the theme is technically a character study about, this censor who is passionate about the job, until she finds some kind of familiarity on a movie. She tries to connect the dot that is probably connected to her own personal life. In this case, the disappearance of her sister, and well, you kind of little by little see this character screw just going, her fuse on her brain just going to the point that she can't distinguish between reality and fiction, and what she saw is kind of like pure coincidence or not. And it's kind of like a mixture between how can I say it, some kind of guilt that she might have with the disappearance of the sister, which the movie never explains about that. And also she's also kind of like in the pressure of her love for her professionalism, and also she also feels a little bit of the pressure of how can I say the opposing parties. In this case, the pressure that the common people are basically demonizing her because she allowed a movie that basically it depicts a man eating another person's face, and so people are angry because they link the movie being the cause of that amnesiac murder, from whatever they call it. This amnesia killer. I think that this guy is probably a MacGuffin or a techno gun, I'll say, because honestly, it doesn't. I'll say mostly it's a MacGuffin because, or I don't know what to say, because this amnesia killer is only there to kind of set up the mood and to set up more pressure to the character, but in the sense of the story, it basically doesn't hold too much. It's just there to basically set up the scenario that this is the 80s, is basically during that time in which the censor technically took this job of censoring and cutting these kind of movies. And well, we see this, and then we see, of course, this character. Not much I have to say, except that at this point, I do highly recommend you this movie. At least I warn you that there are some scenes that are really strong for the weak-minded. Even though I might probably say that probably there might be video nasties that it has worse scenes than there is. But like I already say, I kind of have like this sick thrill on watching these movies, unless they cross the line with animal cruelty, or kind of let's say when there's also a limit with big rape scenes. Funny enough, I only saw bits and clips of this one that what was this? I Spit in Your Grave, which is also one of the most controversial films because I never saw the movie completely, but I did hear horror stories about one particular moment that drags on for a long time. And this is when I say that, yeah, maybe I should reconsider a little bit about censors. Even though I think that mostly what you show on the, how can I say, on the screen is, I don't think that it should be it should be on the hands of self-righteous people who think that they're doing the right thing. Even our main character is kind of a little bit self-righteous to the point of annoyance. I think that it should be mostly the filmmaker's responsibility, but again, the more I think about it and even talk to you right now, I think that I might reconsider some things. But anyway, yeah. But mostly I think that it's basically the artist's responsibility of what should be shown or not. But anyway, we all have some kind of sick thrills. We can't deny or something like that. But honestly, I think it is a good time for me I have to talk to you because I have to explode it out of my mouth. So I think it is time for me to talk to you about the climax, because man, this is when things get insane. So right now it's time for the usually spoiler alert. So spoiler warning, but before I do that, have you seen the movie? Are you seeing it right now? Because I highly recommend you to watch the movie. There we go. You finally watched the movie. So, like I said, the movie kind of jumps back and forth and technically kind of confused you, saying that, oh my god, is this character real? Is she nailing it or not? That probably the movie is kind of real? Not exactly. Not exactly, because you technically begin to point out that this character is out of her rocker so much that she's technically crossing the lines in order to make her investigation. For the most of the movie, you also see that probably there's speculation that our main character is basically responsible for the disappearance of her sister. It doesn't necessarily say that she killed her sister and she didn't tell anyone. Either way, the movie is clever enough to not show you that, but you might speculate. It kind of made me remember that episode of American Dad when our main character basically, as a coping mechanism, he kind of switched roles or something like that. In this, because remember that I said there was one guy who basically ruined the twist of the movie? Well, the guy kind of begins to say that, that our minds kind of also edit itself, kind of like some kind of coping mechanism or something like that. And I was like, oh shit, dude, please, you ruined the plot, the movie. And this bothered me during the whole movie, and you know what? The guy was kind of right. Our main protagonist, then she basically begins to have ideas in her head, because after watching this movie in which it's just her and another woman that looks like her sister, going to this big trailer in which there is this kind of like this redneck guy who basically he just technically kidnapped her or something like that, and she feels like that now she's being used as the kind of like the director's slave. She even rented a movie from our local store, even because she kind of threatened the video clerk that he was handing out banned movies. That was the kind of like the Keanu movie that looks like, with the guy that looks like Keanu Reeves. So she sees the woman, she feels like it is her sister in the movie. She shows it to the parents, saying, look at the cover, she's there. I think that's my sister. And the father's like, woman, please, daughter, please, you're insane. So she say, fine, I'll show you. She even finds the address. She looks for the address of the producer. The producer is still kind of acting creepy. He even has kind of like this trophy of someone with an axe, which I was like, oh my god, something's gonna happen. And the guy acts creepy, and our main protagonist ends up killing the guy by pushing his head into the trophy. Very gory effect, and the way that it does it is honestly, I would say that this is kind of like the most icky part. So I kind of warn you. So she finally gets kind of like the address where they're gonna continue filming the movie. She goes there, she finds the makeup artist, and things are kind of like, it's like, I'm gonna complete my destiny. She dressed up like the part, and kind of making her look like she's dressed up like Linda Blair from The Exorcist. I really like that then the movie kind of begins to go into her perspective, that she entered an exploitation movie. I mean, like the aspect ratio begins to shorten, in how those kind of movies were shown. Even some of the colors dim a little bit. The colors, really great special effects, I'll say. And then she basically kind of begins to kind of act out kind of like her fantasy or the movie in which she encountered the redneck guy with the sister, and she got the axe, and then she swings the axe, and before the guy is like, no, wait, it's not in the script. But basically, yeah, it blurs that kind of crazy line. It kind of almost like Radiodrome. Videodrome. I say a Radiodrome. What did I call it? A Videodrome. And even the director's like, "No, what are you doing? It's your fault." And she follows the actress who is running for her life while our main character is totally insane. It's like, "I come to rescue you, sister. You're not my sister. I don't even have a sister. Come back, come back, come back." Oh my god, it's so insane. And then somehow she managed to summon a VCR remote control. She pressed a button and then the sister finally appears like, "You saved me. Let's go." And then the movie kind of turns really, really happy. Eerily happy. So much that it's almost like the movie got possessed by a cutometer. Someone shoot a cutometer on the movie. Even so much that they were kind of like yeah, la, 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 la. Even the radio is like, the video nasties has been banned all over the world. There's zero crime. The world is safe. And she returns to her parents, who are now happy to see in the missing sister. There are kind of like flashes that it kind of shows the reality that she actually kidnapped the actress, and then show her to her parent at the parent. And the woman is like, "Help me!" And the parents are kind of shocked. And then our main character in her own happy world, she gives out this disturbing smile. And then the movie ends. That's how insane this movie becomes at the end. That climax was brilliant. It was disturbing. It got the idea of what it wanted to show. It's that character that finally snapped. It went out of her mind. It's basically her self-righteousness really finally having her toll out of it. This is why sometimes people, when they're so self-righteous, there are people that are inside their own world, and when they basically they think that what they're doing, they're doing the right thing, but they're not, and they become even worse people that even the killers or people that just say that they just love watching a horror movie. But damn, that was insane. But anyway, I think that's all I wanted to talk about the climax of this movie. So there. This is my spoiler review, and again I'll say that Censor has become probably one of my favorite movies of the year. This one's definitely gonna top one of my top 10 when at the end of the year, and maybe also to this credit makes me reconsider why people technically censor films, even though sometimes at this point in the day and age I really disrespect this kind of people. So if you're into it, check it out. Censor is worth your money, worth your time, and worth your. I'm sorry to tell you, what you saw was only the censored version. I had to go through lots of blood and flesh to make this for you. Now, get ready for the uncensored version.